Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast, episode 96. Today it begins episode 1 of the top 100 video games of all time as decided by you, our audience. For the next 5 weeks, we're going to be unveiling the top 100 games, 20 at a time. Are there going to be surprises? Of course there are. Are we going to get angry? You bet your sweet little ass we're going to get angry.
I'm here and I'm ready to work some stuff out.
Exactly. Are we going to have a lot of fun, doggy dog? Fuck yeah. Let's get into it. Joining me as always, my sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Darty. Cayman, how are you?
Patrick, I'm beautiful.
As always. As you know it's true.
You know, I love the fact is that we also stream this live. So if you're listening audio, then you probably don't, you might know this, but you can see the physical degradation of my body as every week has passed over the last like 3 months.
You're like the king from House of the Dragon.
It's just I'm like I got fucking iron skin popping up, and I'm just one eye's completely dead at this point. Correct. Just by like episode 110, it's just gonna be a fucking skeleton here.
I need an Animorphs-esque cover of the next or the last like 15 episodes. Just your like slow degradation.
Getting decaying.
You're gonna by the end just look like, you know, in Street Fighter 2 when your character loses a fight and you're all beaten and bloodied. That's what you're gonna look like by the end of this.
Amazing. That other voice you hear, that Italian voice you hear, friend of the show, Evan Brando, back to help us unveil the first chunk of this list. Evan, thank you for joining us. How are you, sir?
I am just dandy. Very excited to be here. Extremely stoked. Other sort of synonyms of that kind and that nature.
I'll tell you what, folks, if you're listening to this on your podcast service, maybe you're driving to visit your local grocery store, just to visit, not to buy anything. This one's going to be a visual one, folks, for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, behind Evan right now, a Phantom Menace poster.
Jake Lloyd is going to watch over the podcast for us. Yeah.
Reason number two, we got some graphics. We got some visuals. We're going to get into it. But before we do that, how about a little housekeeping? We got a lot of video game stuff to talk about. I mean, truly a lot this week. Because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live, just like Cognitive Clips and McLean with It 2014 are every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So to be sure to follow us there so that you're notified when we go live, so you can be part of the conversation. This is normally where I would say, what are we playing? Maybe we'd plug a little Save Trash Cinema. Actually, let's plug some Save Trash Cinema real quick because it is October.
It is October and we're coming back. When's that episode going to be out? I really hope it's going to be next week.
Let's see.
Let's see.
How's Junior in the chat? Sorry, Cayman, keep going.
So my wife actually just mentioned it. She was like, Cayman, when's the next episode going live? And I said, it's coming. And she was like, seriously, though, you need to get your shit together. And I was like, I know, because we have some exciting things that are coming up this month. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, it's coming back, baby.
It's coming back, baby. McLean with it in the chat with Trev as well. Paul Wall himself in the chat. Nick in the chat. Sweetskeep, my boys. Pumpkin. Look at that. The season. 'Tis the season to be spooky. And somehow Evan in the chat, the Brando show himself. We're breaking barriers here, folks. Like I said a minute ago, if you're just listening to this, head on over to the YouTube VOD because this is going to be a visual one, folks. We're going to be unveiling the first 24 in the top 100 of all time. Why did I say 104, folks? Or 24, because we're technically this is the top 104, and I'll tell you why. In this episode, we have put together the top 100 games of all time as decided by you, the audience. And how do we do that? You sent in your lists. They were ranked from 1 to 15. Number 1 got 15 points all the way down to number 15 with 1 point. We did all the maths. We put all the science together. This is just pure fucking science here, gentlemen.
Science, baby.
But because of that, because of the amount of folks that we had submit their lists, and because of the way numbers work, we had some ties. Now, most of the time, we could decide ties with their Metacritic score. However, I felt like it would be disrespectful to the 4 that had the same score as the 10 before it they just weren't numbers. Their Metacritic score was a little lower. So we're going to honor those before we really get into the top 100 with just a quick little shout out. But before we even do that, how about some statistics to get us started? Things like how many games were even submitted? How about a cool 228?
My panties are so math wet right now, bro.
They're so math wet right now.
Oh, that's what's the opposite of uncoining a phrase? Of coining a phrase?
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to
also
that.
404 total submissions. So I mean that's pretty good.
Big number.
Essentially, what I'm saying, this is pure science. Can't be argued. Whatever is number one, folks. That's the thing. What do we think about that?
That's insanity, and I love it. Continue.
Yeah. Curmudgeon the Frog. Wow, that Evan sure is a cutie.
Well, what can
you tell me? You tell me. Boys, what do you say we just get started? We've been building this up for near months at this point. I think we rip off the Band-Aid.
And Cayman. That's what's happening medically to Cayman. It's just the suspense.
A lot is killing Cayman at the moment.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That Band-Aid, it's holding me fully together right now.
Truly, fully together. Well, maybe a little joy in these lists will bring your spirits up and your bones together, Cayman, because number 104 on this list, released in 1984, Duck Hunt.
Okay. So some immediate thoughts. I think this is a perfect spot for this because you can't not include Duck Hunt.
Yes,
but also it's definitely not top 100. Like
yes, exactly. I felt like this was the perfect kind of end note. This is completely by happenstance. This is not a bit at all. I was like, what if we just go backwards? What if we start at one and this is the last one we reveal? But hey. I probably would have regretted that decision. Duck Hunt. Well, I mean, this is what got us all started. So respect to the king, but
that douche ass dog. Here's what I'll say about Duck Hunt. For a game that is so not prolific, because I recently learned from Curmudgeon the Frog, in fact, that prolific does not mean iconic. It means that there's a wide variety. It's not a prolific game. It's an iconic game. I'm surprised there hasn't been like a Switch Duck Hunt or there wasn't like a Wii Duck Hunt or something.
Sure.
Maybe there was
99.
Yeah, but there hasn't been like a reboot like Duck Hunt Reloaded.
Duck Hunt 99. It's just fucking one more game of Fortnite, buddy.
That's true. Respect to the king. 103. Number 103. Next up, Gauntlet Dark Legacy.
Yeah, baby.
I'll be honest. I was thrilled by this. Wasn't on my list. But
fantastic.
When I saw this made the list, I was like, why wasn't this on my list?
How could this not be a top 100 list?
Yeah. Released on the GameCube. What a fucking game.
This game is a powerhouse. Me and my brother used to play this game all the time.
The amount of hours that my brothers and I spent, I feel like I've said this on the podcast before. I received Gauntlet Dark Legacy from the Easter Bunny one year.
I think I also did. That
sounds
like
Easter gift I ever got.
Wow. Your Easter Bunny was a lot better than mine.
Sure. Well,
I had those
it was a gift for all of
eggs.
us. So
just a lot of Cadbury eggs, my Easter Bunny, and
this is one of those series that has had like subsequent games, but they changed the formula. They stripped down some of like the 90s, early 2000s like sheen of it, and then they were like, all right, well, we'll make it realistic, because that's probably what they were trying to do a little bit here, and it totally lost all of its charm, in my humble opinion. Like the new Gauntlet games are not. Like they're so whatever, but these have like a little camp. Look at these character designs. These are awesome.
I know, they're so good.
Their animations are great.
The amount of characters you can unlock, like you can play as
Red Warrior,
like a dead horse or something. They brought in animals at some point toward the end, but
it was the era of game too, where it was just like yes, we have a game, but also we have an equal point of like screwing around, with like big head modes and you can play as like a horse, or it's like in Civilization or whatever, or Age of Empires, when you could get like a Lamborghini or whatever.
Yeah, right.
It was that. Yeah.
Next up on the list at number 102, again with 11 points. The first several have 11 points. Another one that I'm just thrilled made the list. It's Backyard Baseball.
Pablo.
Our boy Pablo, front and center here, if you're watching. And Pete Wheeler in the background.
I have one bone to pick with this one.
Okay.
I think it should have been 2001 Backyard Baseball. I think that is a far superior version because this one, I believe, does not have the pros, if I'm not mistaken.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
And, maybe the submission was for Backyard Baseball.
Well, it could have been for just the series, right?
Exactly. But
we just briefly shout out times were much simpler where diversity wasn't an issue for people.
Not one Tucker Carlson existed to be like, well,
no one cared no one cared that you could play as a kid in a wheelchair, but now you put a kid in a wheelchair in and it's forced diversity, and it's like shut the fuck up.
True. Actually, that's a really good point. The Backyard series may be one of the most diverse series of all time.
Truly.
Yeah.
There's the
fucking
for everybody.
I played so much backyard, anything, football, hockey, all of them. Glad that at least one of them made the list. 101, the last of the, let's just, show them a little bit of runner-ups. The runner-ups as they were. Call of Duty World at War. Not my pick. Originally released on the PS3, the 360, and the PC, again with 11 points. It was Call of Duty's return to World War II because they had stepped away from it for a while.
There are some Call of Duty games I definitely, even though I'm not like the hugest fan of the series, there's a couple of Call of Duty games that I think are just undeniable in this list.
Sure.
That probably are, and World of War is not one of them in my opinion.
Didn't World of War, though, that was the first time we had zombies in a Call of Duty game?
No, that was Black Ops, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Black Ops.
I think it might have been World at War. I think Evan's doing some searching.
I am.
When this game came out is when I still cared about Call of Duty.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
Boom. Kreslin in the chat and came in on the pod. Correct. This was a game I remember having fun with it.
Okay.
But
no, in that case, I think this does get a nod. I think this, if it had zombies, I feel like that became just its own game.
For sure. That's right. Nazi zombies. It was
Nazi zombies.
Yeah.
That's what a mode was
type of zombies.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Because it's like one of those like Warcraft to like Dota things, right? Where it's like, oh, you just made a new genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Almost. Right.
Which, is still in Call of Duty today. So that's a good point there. So yeah, you know what? Respect for Call of Duty World at War. But it is worth pointing out as we go to number 100, another kind of fun fact. We got a lot of submissions, but the way that the point system worked, whatever game you have in your top 5 is on this list because it got at least 11 points by being within that range.
Right.
So this was someone's number 5, so it made the list. So whoever you are, congrats.
I think with Nazi zombies, I get it. That's
for sure.
Especially like in our age range, there are a lot of nights doing that.
For sure. Okay, moving into the proper top 100 at
Here we
number
go, baby.
100. How about that? Before to cut myself off, it was Trev that put that there. Paul Wall himself. Trev in the chat.
Paul Wall.
Trev.
You had a great.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have a hard time arguing it. Not one I would pick, but I get it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I had a little bit of a delay there. There we go. Okay. Number 100, a game that I really liked, but I don't know that it deserves the top 100, and I'm interested to hear what y'all think. Tales from the Borderlands for the PS4, Xbox
I love
One,
this game.
And PC.
So interesting thing. I think this is Telltale's far and away strongest offering.
It's one of my favorites for sure. I'm a Wolf Among Us stan myself.
Love that, a close second for sure.
But I was surprised that it made the top 100, but I did really love it. I never went back to play the sequel, but Cayman, you were a big Tales fan, right?
Well, one, I'm a huge Borderlands fan and also a huge Tales fan. And so when worlds collide, it's fucking great. Yeah. I think this is the Tales, and don't get me wrong, I think there's other Tales games I liked more just from like what it brought to the table. But one thing that I think that gets overlooked in this game is how incredible the soundtrack was.
Everything a banger. Pieces of the People, Back to the Top, Busy Earning, like truly insane needle drops.
Had such a fucking amazing soundtrack, and then also said it honestly, I think it's got like a really great story.
It's so funny too. Yeah, it's comedy really in games. Funny. This is far funnier than every other Borderlands combined, in my humble opinion. There's like actual jokes. I think this is the best piece of media from the Borderlands universe. I like 2 a lot, but I think this is the like. If you were to just like be like, okay, what is the Borderlands aesthetic setting? I would just say, just play this one.
I absolutely love the idea that this is at 100. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, underrated. If you've never played it, highly recommend going back.
That's a good point. I feel like that, like 90 to 100 is that, like, you know what? Respect.
Yeah.
Really, really good game. We should give it its flowers, but it is kind of where it's meant to be.
Surprised to see it here. Not unhappy.
For sure. Number 99, a game I've never played actually, but I know of it, and I think our audience knows it well. Released in 2007 on the PS3 and the 360, Skate.
Oh, Skate's cool.
A cool game. A cool game.
Okay. So here's the thing with Skate. So there was like before Skate came out, I think it was before Skate came out, there was the Thrasher games. That was like one of the game modes that it was like, just see how badly you can fuck your body up. And so Skate does it too, but Skate's so broken. Its physics engine is so broken that like you could do that and break your nutsack and then launch yourself like a rocket, like 100 meters in the air. Let me tell you guys, that's the best thing about this game, and it deserves to be in the top 100 just for body modifications via skateboard.
There you go.
Yeah,
I remember at the time it got a lot of love for feeling quote unquote a lot more like genuine or a lot more like realistic as a skate.
Yeah, it's way less arcadey.
So I'm a huge Tony Hawk fan. I would definitely put Tony Hawk, particularly Tony Hawk Underground, above Skate. But Skate is so fun, and it is a little more free to the ground. But its control scheme is really like natural, and you have this like freedom almost while you're playing it. It's very cool. And also, like Cayman said, you can bust your nuts, which is really fun.
And you know,
it's just a fun game. It just feels good, and I think sometimes games like that's all a game needs.
Sure. You know, I'm a Tony Hawk boy myself. Like I said, I never actually played Skate, but again, like this was such a movement when it came out. I feel like it deserves some shouts for sure. Next up, number 98. This one at first really shocked me, but in hindsight, especially very recent news, not as shocking. But I think if we were to go back 3 years and think, oh, this game is going to be in a top 100 list, we would be like, I don't know. And that's Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay. Here's the thing. Cyberpunk, okay, it was broken as fuck. And I tried to play it on the PlayStation 4. I've told this story so many times, but when playing it on the PlayStation 5, the game is actually shit ton of fun. And for me personally, I think even base Cyberpunk on the PlayStation 5 was more entertaining to me than Starfield was. So I'll say it. I'll be the one that says it. I think there's some really cool shit hidden in there. And I think because of how bad the launch was, maybe a lot of people didn't give it a fair shake. But with now 2.0, I think it's
this is a slam dunk for me. In fact, I could see this, you know, in the long run being higher space. I think that, like, yes, obviously the launch had some problems, but I've heard even with the DLC that has come out, I believe last week, if I'm not mistaken, or 2 weeks ago, has been so beloved, and just so many people have really, really grown to love this game, particularly with like edge runners and stuff too, also being kind of baked into it, which was a great series. Cyberpunk, totally give it its laurels.
Cyberpunk is a game for me that I didn't think I would ever go back to, but Phantom Liberty is getting so much love and attention that I'm like, you know what? I need to give it another shot, because it didn't click with me when I first played it, when like 1.5 came out. So now that there's a proper 2.0, I think once this year settles, I'm definitely going to go back to Cyberpunk and give it another shake.
Yeah.
Next up, number 97, released in 2008, a game that almost made my list. So I'm really glad that it ended up making the top 100. The original Dead Space.
So I never finished this game. So I think it is a cool game, and I think it's appropriately placed. Like, it's one of those games that I've still never played anything quite like afterwards. And I think that like being quality and also like that uniqueness, and also establishing like a good story and a good like ambiance is really hard to do.
I think this is one of those games where once this list is over, if I were to like publish this and say, these are 104 games you got to play, I would sub in the new one, because it's basically a 1-to-1. But
that I did not play.
Yeah, it's a really faithful recreation. We talked about it a lot at the beginning of the year.
Can I just say, Patrick, I think we need to bring back that weird subgenre from like the late 2000s to early 2010s, where we got a lot of like action horror games. I feel like Dead Space kind of fits more into the action horror than like survival horror.
Sure.
We need to bring that shit back, man. That was like a really fun subgenre that just has died.
I can get down with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Let's make it happen, games industry.
Yeah, games.
Come on,
Robert Games, who makes all the games.
Exactly. Next on the list, number 96, released only a few years later in 2011 on the PS3 and the 360. A game that I think was a bit of a coming out party for a genre, and that's Dark Souls. Not to say that we hadn't had a Souls game before, but Dark Souls is the game that put the Souls genre really on the map. So absolutely surprised it's not higher, to be honest.
I was going to say this seems low unless we're also parsing out Dark Souls 2/3. In which case I could
single Dark Souls 2 or 3 submission. Or if I did,
this is
I
way
forgot about it.
I don't even like Dark Souls very much, but this is too low, guys. What are we doing here, guys? This is like
I agree.
Top 30, top 50 at the very least.
But hey, that's the way the news
goes. Yeah.
So
here's my thing. I feel like you could I feel like if Dark Souls 3 was on this list and it was like in the 50s, I'd be like, yeah, that's right. And Dark Souls, because let's be honest, man, Dark Souls, while yes, it technically, I mean, more than Demon Souls at least created a like this new genre. Dark Souls was a buggy mess, especially I think it was Blighttown.
Oh, was it?
It was just awful to try to traverse. Now, when they remastered it, was it better? Yes. Was it perfect? Absolutely fucking not. So I feel like Dark Souls 3 is like the perfect Dark Souls in terms of like what they were trying to do with Dark Souls for that type of game, more linear, not Elden Ring. But it not being on the list always spoiled it not being on the list. That's wild, man.
So, well, I do want to correct myself because there might be someone driving or watching the YouTube video screaming, be like, it was on my list. We did get at least one submission for 2 and 3, but they didn't make the list. I'll go ahead and spoil that. They didn't make the list.
Fair enough.
Next up on the list, a 2018 title, a game that almost brought me into this series, but didn't quite do the trick. And that's Monster Hunter World.
I missed. I like Monster Hunter. I missed this one, which is crazy because it's like this is the best one from my
I'm in the same boat you are, Patrick, where I tried so hard. I put about 30 to 40 hours into Monster Hunter World and realized I am not designed for Monster Hunter.
I'm super shocked by that, Cayman, because I know you're like a completionist guy, and I feel like the gameplay loop of this game is really rewarding to players who want to.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. That's why I spent so much time with it. My problem was my brain doesn't function in the same capacity of like I need to eat and have certain weapons and armor that are very specific. And I'm like, I just tried to like bulldoze my way through it and realize like I'm too stupid to play Monster Hunter. So
I will say it does, especially when it gets harder. I feel like for a game that is kind of Dark Soulsy and you're beating bosses, it doesn't telegraph quite as well the sort of the way that you're supposed to interact with the boss, right?
Yeah.
This is coming from a Monster Hunter fan.
Yeah, no, for sure. Actually, it's funny that you say that. Sweet Skeet in the chat. Monster Hunter World got me into it, which made me love the Switch and much better version of Monster Hunter Rise.
Monster Hunter Rise
is the one that you tried to get me into, Evan, on the Switch, and it just didn't click for me.
That's a really fun series. Because you get the Spider-Man like stuff. It takes a little while to get used to, and even me as someone who's like a veteran of the series was still not like, what do I do with these little bugs? I still didn't quite get it, but it's very fun, and the new PC port is really, really good.
I feel like it's fair that there's at least some Monster Hunter representation on the list because it's a very important franchise.
Oh, so totally. Sure. Again, also feels a little low, but it is what it is.
This next one feels criminally low to me, but again, that's the way the news went. Released originally in 2007 on the PC, Portal.
What are we doing here?
I love this. This is batshit crazy. It's such an amazing one.
Okay, I have to ask before I throw a fit, is Portal 2 later on the list?
I will say Portal 2 is later on the list.
Okay, I'm a little less upset by this, but like,
but I think if I were to just craft this list myself,
Portal 1's higher
would be top 50.
Yeah,
I mean, I love how fucking unhinged our audience is.
Here's the thing. I think this is a great.
What are we doing, people?
I know this is a great place to already tease the rest of the list. If you're only having like marginal fun so far, This list gets fucking nuts.
I'm irate. I'm irate. 94 Portal. What are we doing?
Unhinged by the end of it. When you guys hear the top 10, tables will be fucking flipped.
Oh man.
I can't wait. Number 94, still with 11 points. We still haven't cracked the 11-point range yet. Portal.
The spotlighters they've risen to the occasion.
Because this is Family Feud rules. Like this is a surveyed audience.
Exactly.
So these are totally valid. It's just like wow.
You guys decided this. So if you're pissed, only be mad at yourself.
You go punch your neighbor in the face.
It's a good host who blames his audience.
Yeah, it's your fault, fuckers.
I love it, man. Good on them.
That's the tagline for this whole series. Exactly, it's your fault, fuckers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number 93, a game that I feel like is fairly placed. Released on the 2002 in the year of the GameCube. The Resident Evil remake. A great fucking game, but I think better than the original. Objectively,
better than the original.
And I feel like if it's going to be in the list, it's got to be in the 90s.
I have nothing to say about Resident Evil. I have one Resident Evil game that I think, maybe two Resident Evil games that I think should be like near the top of the list, but I don't have a lot of opinions on the first one.
Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil Outbreak.
I'm having.
I really got to
Something is happening in my brain when you say that, and it makes me think I need to go see a specialist or something.
Look, I can guarantee you Resident Evil 6 is not on this list.
It's the it's the tadpole in my brain.
That's right, it's the tadpole.
There we go. We got to talk about Baldur's Gate 3 a little bit this episode.
A little bit, baby.
Number 92, our final game with 11 points. After this, we move on to a little bit higher. Originally released on the Wii in 2010. Super Mario Galaxy 2.
This is fucked up. This is insane. This is fucked up. This is insane. This is fucked
Absolutely
up. This is insane. This is criminal. I'm so upset right now. This is the best Mario game, you guys.
Before we went live, I said, you know what? I don't think any of the games I submitted are on this list. I submitted Super Mario Galaxy 2 as my number 5. So I am the only reason this is even on the list.
Oh, it hurts and I'm laughing.
And it's number 92 because I'm the only motherfucker that put Super Mario Galaxy 2 on this list when we had 404 submissions.
What is happening?
Yeah.
The only reason is people did not play this one. And I can kind of get why, because it's on the Wii, first and foremost, which a lot of people used as a casual console, but didn't play a ton of
Sure.
Also pretty late in the Wii's life cycle, if I'm not mistaken.
Toward the very end.
Toward the very end. So I could maybe see missing 2 specifically, but y'all go. Listen. If you take one thing away from this podcast, go play Super Mario Galaxy 2, you motherfuckers.
It is truly a top 10 game. And that's why I had it at number 5.
A triumph of a game.
Yeah. It's the fact that we got Super Mario Galaxy 1 on the 3D remaster bullshit on the Wii and not 2, I'm still a little uneasy about.
Insane also, yeah.
It's so much better than the first one.
It's so much better than the first one.
Yeah,
the first one's great.
Amazing.
The first one's great, but
this is seriously though, other than maybe Odyssey is the only other one that I think holds a candle to it. This is the best Mario, 3D Mario platformer.
So this one, this one's certainly not my fault. This is your fault.
You did your part. You did your part.
Yeah. So a game better than Super Mario Galaxy 2 coming in at number 91 with 12 points.
I'm going to be so upset.
Jet Set Radio Future.
Less upset than I thought it was going to be. This game is a fucking slammer and a jammer.
It's true.
Released on the Xbox in 2002. I've actually never played this game, so I can't speak.
What? Dude.
What? How, Patch? Okay, so
this
first,
game fucks. It's amazing. This is like a top... this is...
Okay, so okay, we got to give it Dreamcast didn't help.
See, it's Dreamcast originated best console. Come on, baby.
When I texted Evan to be on this episode, I was like, "You're gonna get to talk about a Dreamcast game," because I thought this was a Dreamcast game, but then I realized as I was doing my final research,
Grind Radio was a Dreamcast game. This was a sequel. It was a launch title for the Xbox, along with Gran Turismo. I think it was a double disc thing.
In hindsight, I'm shocked I never played this game because when the Xbox launched, there was famously like 3 games to play, and I got one
Fusion Frenzy.
Not at launch, but I got one relatively close to launch, I think. But that's my kid brain. Maybe it was like 5 years later, and I had no idea.
You should. I recommend going back and playing this because it has just a style.
It seems like my shit.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's also a new game out called Bomb Funk Cyber Rush that is from my understanding, a pretty solid spiritual successor that I have not played.
There's another one coming out soon called Hellscape, but it's not. You're
oh,
not
that's a roguelike. Yeah,
you're on a skateboard, and you also have combat on a skateboard. And I think probably maybe the closer thing to this would right now, obviously Bomb Rush, but Roller Dome.
It's also a little similar to Hi-Fi Rush, a little bit in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Agreed.
Well,
just with
next
the rhythm
on the list,
of it.
Another game better than Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Portal, released in the year 2017 on the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC. Evil Within 2.
What are we doing, people?
Okay, here's the thing, though. The Evil Within 2 is
this game is better than Mario Galaxy 2 and Portal.
Some might say that. Someone out there might say that.
Here's the thing. This is the first time. This is the first time that I want to get on my soapbox because I loved the Evil Within 1. And I tried so hard to get into the Evil Within 2, and I was just so bored. So the fact that this is above Galaxy 2,
this is
Portal,
disgusting.
and so many other games. Okay. This is the first one that actually
this is making my skin crawl.
Hold your fucking no. This list is categorically correct. Science-based. There's no
science is a liar sometimes.
Science-based. There's no world in which the Evil Within 2 is worse than anything that came before this. Anything above that comes after is better, obviously.
No,
you know what? Undying faith. In the
you know what? You make a great point, Cayman. Anything above this is better than this, but anything below it, this is better than.
Whoever, I know you're out there, and I know you're listening. The person who put the Evil Within 2 on your list, thank you for doing that. You spoke your truth, and I'm here to listen, baby.
Yeah, wow. Cognitive clips in the chat. The Kind of Funny Science with Kev song just played in my head. Science with Kev. I'm Kevin. Very good call. It's a similar thing happened to me. Clips. So okay, next up on the list, a game not better than Mario Galaxy 2, but I would maybe say is better.
Above, so everything must be better, right?
Right.
Everything's better.
Originally released on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1994, Donkey Kong Country.
Hell yeah.
I think
this 2 is the more beloved game, and I'm wondering if
Conquest.
Sure. But this is Donkey Kong Country was a staple in the Schweigert household. I wasn't very good at it because I had a little baby brain, but I remember really liking the music.
Okay, here's the thing. You just ripped a big fat bowl, right? You just and you're just baked out of your mind. You put on the Donkey Kong aquatic theme.
Aquatic ambience.
Aquatic ambience. And you just fucking vibed into the universe at that moment.
Yeah, let's fucking go. Great point. Great point. Next up on the list, released in 2022, the newest game so far on the list on the Nintendo Switch, again with 12 points. We're still in the tie of the next round. Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Interesting.
An interesting pick. I'm a little conflicted with this because I think to date, I would say, which might be blasphemous, this is my favorite Pokemon game I've ever played.
I don't think that's blasphemous at all. I think that the revamped mechanics, thonking a Psyduck with a Pokeball it's kind of what I was talking about with Skate, where like it just feels good. Yes, there are Pokemon games with better story. There are Pokemon games with like more, fleshed out battle mechanics, but man, you just sometimes can't argue with like the feel, because I'll be honest, there's a lot I do not like about this game. I think the areas are super not fleshed out. I think the story is really flat. I think even the way the story is presented is like you're having a scene and then somebody off screen yells and then runs in, and every scene is like that. But it's just
what are you talking about, Evan? That's how every episode of The Sopranos goes.
Wow. Hold on.
It's just someone off screen just yells gabagool.
All right. Well, this is straight up offensive.
It's taken months for it to come up, but say that again to Tony Soprano's face, who has been in the background of the podcast for the last.
Does he have a goose?
He has the duck.
A duck. I mean,
the duck.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Still unopened. Get myself a gun.
One day, this might be worth $6.
Woke up this morning.
Yeah, I mean that game. I skipped just about all the dialogue. But I couldn't put it down. We talked about it on the podcast. I couldn't 100% it because I didn't play a different Pokemon game, but I 99.99% of it.
Hey, I gave you that copy of that game, and
you did. Really, it's on me now.
Is it Sword and Shield?
Yeah, it is my fault, fuckers.
Sword and Shield does rule. I do love Sword and Shield.
But... no, it's the Chibi style remake one.
Oh no, you needed to play
Diamond
Pokemon. No, Omega. No, was it Diamond? Was it or
Brilliant Diamond?
I think that might have been
Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl or something.
Next up, released in 2015. I have an inkling that this was on Cayman's list, but
There's
you tell me.
Way it ended up this low on the list.
Rocket League.
Oh shit!
Number
Good spot for this. Good spot for this. This is a top 100 game of all time. For me.
I think it might have maybe. I don't know. I can't remember.
Something I know about this game is that schools, like with esports programs, this is often the game that they'll play. So this is sort of like baby's first esport, which I'm curious to see kind of how that effect will have, what effect that'll have on the audience in 10 years. Because I really don't think this game is going anywhere. I think it's one of those that's like super, super easy and fun to pick up and play. Like, even if you don't really know what you're doing, it's fun to just be a Hot Wheel playing soccer. But if you do know what you're doing, there's a lot of depth there.
I think it's definitely worth mentioning the mainstream appeal that this game has forced itself into over the last 7-8 years, whatever that math is.
To piggyback off of Evan's point, so my wife is a teacher, and one of the things that she does is she kind of does that. They have this like little hub world where kids can go in and they can do like virtual tours of museums and they can watch esports and stuff. And that's what they do on esports is Rocket League.
It's because it's not violent, but it's clearly a video game.
And so they have like they've got like professional Rocket League players who are partnered with the school system that actually do the commentating for the games for the kids, which I think is like so fucking cool. But it is one of those games where it's super easy to pick up and play, but the difficulty curve to master is one of the truly craziest curves. I'm at a point where like I'm like a solid like high plat diamond level player. And the gap between me and someone, one tier up is so large, but like I absolutely fucking love Rocket League.
I mean, doesn't that seem like a sport though, right? Like, because if I show you how to play soccer or basketball, I mean, obviously this is literally soccer, but like more to it. You can know how to play it and pick up a basketball and have 8-year-olds play it, right? But not every 8-year-old knows how to like, break someone's legs, right? Or do, a pick or something, right? Like,
speak for yourself.
All right. Well, you look, man, you were a little like my kid. I'm just saying in the same way that like, any team of 8-year-olds can play Rocket League and finish a game technically. Yeah. But not every 8-year-old knows how, or does know how to do like the thing with all the flips in the air and like where you're rocketing around and double jumping or, whatever.
I'm going to guess that the year was 2003. If Louise is listening, my mother, she can correct me. She's not listening.
You broke a kid's ankles.
No, but I did play basketball, and I was on shitty teams basically my entire short basketball career. But the last season I played,
he was on the Miami Heat.
I was on the Miami Heat. No, I was on a team, and we had orange shirts. We were kids, so we didn't have jerseys. We had shirts. And we were playing at the old Woodstock Elementary School for any of you Georgia folks that grew up in Woodstock, which is like 4 of you probably.
Shout out.
And I don't remember what our team name was at the beginning of the season, but we won, and we won so big every week that by the end of the season, we changed our name to the Orange Crush because we knew every game we were going to win, and we fucking did. So what did I do? I walked away from the sport. I walked away with my,
on top.
I walked away on top, as you always should. So you never picked up a basketball ever again.
So you peaked in 5th grade is what I'm hearing.
Oh, I definitely peaked in 5th grade.
Something else about this game is that I do think it is the king game of, well, we won, so let's play one more. We can't quit on a hot streak, or we lost. We can't go out on a losing streak.
You can't go out on an L.
So late playing this particular video game. And like, not only have I played it with like friends, but I used to work in an office where this was like we would play this at lunch. All 4 of us. Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, fucking shout out to Rocket League. Liz in the chat got it. Wasn't on mine, but it should have been. I kind of feel the same way. I was like, I should have been at least toward the bottom of my list because this game, I
don't know that it's as definitive as some of the other games we're going to cover, but boy, it would feel like a huge miss to not include this particular game.
I agree. Next up on the list is admittedly a head scratcher, but I think that's just because a couple reasons for me. It originally released on the PS2, a console that I, in this podcast history lore, I famously never had. 2004, and that is Champions of Norath.
What?
Huh.
What?
Okay.
Not a game I'm familiar with. Number 86 with 12 points. So I unfortunately do not have really anything to say about this game.
So I have played this game, Cayman. I don't know if you've played this game.
Oh, fuck, this sounds like one of those romance novels that like my grandmother would read, but like on the cover, instead of it being a sexy elf girl, it's fucking Fabio.
I thought it was going to be
Fabio slinging his sword around.
I thought it was going to be a World of Warcraft expansion, to be honest.
It's a little World of Warcrafty. It's a little Diablo-y. So it's a dungeon crawling game where you are it's a little like Baby's First Baldur's Gate. You have some story choices you make, but mostly you're just grinding dungeons, and you know, it doesn't quite have the like the pulp killing of Diablo. You know, it's just sort of an adventure RPG, but it was co-op, and you could play it with the multi-tap too, which was a very rare thing on the PS2.
Okay.
86 up above
Super Mario Galaxy 2 and
Mario Galaxy 2 and Portal and Dark Souls. I don't know.
Yeah, but hey,
but I do want to be fair. I do like this game a lot. Like, I think this game is pretty cool and very quality. And a bit of a sleeper hit. I'm surprised it hasn't gotten a remaster of some kind.
Sure.
Just want to point out once again, this game is better than Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Please stop talking about it.
So
I mean, that's
you heard the audience.
Science,
this is giving me psychic damage. I have trauma.
Yeah, you're gonna look like me by the end of this episode.
God, I can only wish. Next up on the list, a game released originally in 1997 in arcades, but mainstream-wise released in 1998 on the N64 and the PlayStation 1. A game not on my list, but when I saw this on someone's list, I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? NFL Blitz.
Oh, yeah, let's go, baby.
What a fucking game.
Yes.
Oh, this is the greatest football game ever made. Like, Tecmo Bowl is the only thing that holds a candle to it. And like, I'm a huge
fucking rips.
It just rips. There's nothing. There's like no fat on this game. It's just fun. It's fast. It's exciting.
Yeah.
The plays are dynamic. It feels just like, I don't know, like they really did. They made an arcade football game, and it's the best. It's so fun.
Did you guys ever play? Did you guys ever play any of the sequels that came out later? Blitz the League.
Yeah, not the same.
Yeah.
Honestly, here's the thing. I fucking love that game because I could dope up my players with steroids, and I think we need to introduce steroids.
It was funny, but it lost the like arcade quality, which I thought was kind of the fun.
Yeah,
it's
not a pick up and go kind of thing.
I enjoy the wrestling thing, but I actually I played a game with a friend at DragonCon because they had a machine in the big arcade section, and we were just like there's like it's nonstop action. Which if you're an NFL fan, not really the same, right? Plenty of stoppage, but
you mean there's no Taylor Swift in NFL?
Travis Kelce not a part of the franchise yet.
I'm really excited about later this year. Colin Kaepernick is releasing like a spiritual successor in a way. So it's like a mixture of NFL Blitz and NFL Street called Wild Card Football.
Holy shit!
That looks as close to Blitz as we've gotten. Still not Blitz enough, in my opinion, but it looks like the first type game that we've gotten in a very long time.
Not like it doesn't fit. Like literally, it does not. I don't love the look of it, but I love the.
I hope it delivers, but at the very least, I hope it sells so that we get more games like it.
Yeah, I just love an arcade sports game.
Yeah,
just love an arcade sports game, and I don't know why we walked away from that genre.
NHL hits, Blitz. I forget what the baseball one was. Slugfest, something like that.
MLB, right?
Hits was hockey.
Oh, Hits was hockey. Hits was awesome.
Yeah. I think it was so good.
It was like MLB Slug or MLB Slugfest. I think was the name.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Those ones, all of those were great. MLB
the midway era. And I loved NBA Jam and NBA Street too. Or I love all the street games. I mean, I love NFL Jam as well.
Street and NBA Street was fucking great.
I don't like. I enjoy like 2K and Madden and FIFA. Those are fine, and I like the Mario side. But the Mario, the FIFA stuff is too much.
Mm-hmm. Like it's too real,
and the Mario stuff is like I like it, but I enjoy the like a little more in the center. Like NBA Jam is a perfect example because that is a basketball game, but it does have like a little bit of turbo and like you can do the fun dunks and things like that.
Yeah, I feel like FIFA is slow and simmy. The Mario is slow and arcadey. We need fast and arcadey. That's the fast nature, I think, is what's missing from a lot of the arcadey sports games that have tried to come out. Because that's Like if you, I pulled up NHL Hits on my Steam Deck a few months ago. Game is so fucking fast. Like I think that's the key that these kinds of games are missing in the modern era. Another game that was fast, boys, that I didn't really play any of until its sequel a few years later, because it was a multiplayer only game released in 2014. That's the original Titanfall. A game that I feel like makes sense to me from an objective standpoint. From what I hear, I feel like Titanfall 2 probably made more sense.
Yeah, that's where I stand.
But again, like, you know, one of those things where at least the franchise got something.
Yeah, I mean, Titanfall 2 did spin off to Apex, if I'm not mistaken, right?
And they did something in Apex recently. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is, but they like dropped a bunch of shit in the game that like starts to tie Apex into Titanfall. So there's like some rumors swirling that we could be getting a Titanfall 3 somewhere around the corner, which I think would be fucking dope. Because Titanfall 2 was pretty fucking awesome. That game was really cool.
Not to bring the mood down, but the last I heard was that they were going to be doing a Titanfall 3 and then they silently canceled.
Fucking EA, man.
That's the last thing I heard. Kayla in the chat, I came in at the right time. I'm pretty sure Titanfall, you know, I don't know who submitted lists, but I'm pretty sure you are the reason Titanfall made the list. So
Titanfall
very good job there.
I mean, better than Portal and Mario Galaxy 2.
I'm telling you, man, it's science. You gotta give
those are like there's a world where those are top 10 games.
Just like I'm admitting right now, this Titanfall is, according to science, better than Rocket League.
Sure, and Mario Galaxy 2
and
Portal
and Champions of Norath.
Yeah.
Next
up on the list, released in 1997 on the N64, a game that I think is fucking boring as shit. I'm gonna get yelled at.
No, I think, Patrick, if it's what I think it is, I think I'm on your side on this one.
Star Fox 64.
Oh, nope, never mind. I lied. I shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that. I lied. This game rips. What the fuck are you on?
I think it is so fucking boring.
What are you talking about?
I think Star Fox deserves. Star Fox does not deserve a seat at the table. I think Star Fox is a completely overrated franchise, and whoever put this on their list to get it at number 3, I think is a coward.
Do a barrel roll.
What? The cast is amazing.
Sure, maybe.
Fucking the Skippy in your ear, just do a barrel roll. Fox.
This is 83.
Cole House Jr. I agree, it's boring. You've always been my favorite, and now you've just solidified that.
I'm not saying it needs to be a top 10 because it's not like it's a top 10 game, but boring. It's a game.
I've never had fun playing a Star Fox
cool fox flying a spaceship, shooting a giant monkey with hand. Like, what are you talking about? Boring.
I'm already a cool fox in the modern day. I don't need to be on a fucking game. All right.
How can a game that has Falco Lombardi in it be boring?
I mean, maybe if they tried harder, I'd have liked it. But
this is insane. This is like, do you like the other Star Fox games?
You know what? I'll tell you. There's one Star Fox game I ever liked.
If you say Adventures, I will.
Star Fox Adventures.
Fuck you. Why? How? What?
It's the only one I ever played and that actually had fun doing.
Wow.
Granted, I was like 9, but
Star Fox 64 is just like
Star Fox.
It's really fun.
Sucks, but it's better than the Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Portal
and the Evil Within 2, etc., etc.
I mean,
science, baby.
It might be better than Evil Within 2.
Science.
Next up, number 82. I don't believe this made my list, but I wish it had, because I think this is one of the best narratives in video games. I thought you
were gonna say GoldenEye on the previous one, by the way.
Sure.
GoldenEye fucking sucks.
GoldenEye not on the list, and maybe not even submitted once. Actually.
I think it could. I think it could. I think it could maybe deserve a kind of multiplayer console shooting games. Whatever. The game sucks though. The game sucks.
No, not a single person said GoldenEye, and you know what? Not mad at it. This game released in 2017 on the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC. I think it is one of the most moving pieces of any storytelling, and that is What Remains of Edith Finch.
Never played it.
Number 82 on our list with 12 points.
It is one of the most depressing games that I think you could ever sit through. There's one level in particular, and spoiler alerts if you haven't. No, you know, I'm not going to spoil it.
Don't spoil it.
It involves a child.
Yep. Don't spoil, please.
And it is.
Wait, I'm sorry. I did play this game. I lied. I was thinking of something else. You're talking about the fish moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
okay. Yeah.
dude,
I have played this game. This is affecting.
That fucking level it ruined me.
Yeah.
Deep down inside.
It's so expertly done. And there's also a moment toward the end of the game that I certainly won't spoil, that if you've played another game, it makes it even cooler.
Wait, which game?
The Unfinished Swan.
Oh, I have not played that game.
Yeah.
It's just a really, so the premise, for those of you who don't know, it's a first person kind of narrative driven exploring game, essentially, where you walk into this house. If you're watching the video version, there's kind of an outline of this house. It's this massive, unique, like crazy looking house, and each of the rooms, it's like a vignette of sorts telling a story about a member of this family who is has an interesting story to tell. Actually, I almost said something that I shouldn't have said. And it just is really good. I'm really glad. I feel like 82 is, if anything, a little low, but fair, because
I have a hard time putting anything. I mean, I have games that have been lower than this that are, and I'm sure there will be games that are higher than this that I feel a little strong about.
For sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, absolutely. If you have not played this game, go play this game. It's fucking great. It's a game that I've so many times considered replaying, but I'm like, you know what? I think that's a play it once and I'm done with it kind of game. I don't know that I want to go back.
Yeah.
Again, Curmudgeon the Frog. This game has been on my playlist forever. This is your
Curmudgeon
sign.
the Frog. You would adore this game, I think.
Yeah,
I really
this is
do.
your
I mean,
sign from Super Mario Galaxy 2 to go play this game.
God fucking damn it! Don't do this, Patrick.
How would you do Patrick? Do it.
I can't believe you've done this. This is a great game, though. I think it's super up your alley.
Really fucking great game. The Frog. Our last game of this episode 1 of the top 100, number 82 or number 81, excuse me, also with 12 points. The final game of this last tiebreaker of 12 points, released in 2019 on the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC. Resident Evil 2 Remake.
This is one of the Resident Evils I was picturing.
It's interesting. Resident Evil 2 Remake is, I need to, by the end of this series, I'll have the games that I put in my top 15 easily at hand. I don't think this ended up making my list, but there were several years where, because I'm a nerd, I have a top 100 games list in my GG app, and there was a while where this was in my top 20.
What's a GG app?
GG, it's like Letterboxd but for video games.
Oh, interesting.
And you can make all sorts of lists.
Cool.
So I track like all the games I play every year in it, and like list them out and rank them and stuff. Resident Evil 2 Remake is the game that kind of reestablished my love for Resident Evil, because I played a lot of it as a kid and watched a lot of it as a kid, going back to earlier in the list when Resident Evil Remake 1 was on the list, like watching my brother play that way back when it came out in the early 2000s. Like that was like a summer thing that year where I just watched Andrew play it every night or every day because we didn't have school. And so like these games kind of hold a special place in my heart. But then Resident Evil 4 comes out. It's fucking amazing.
Resident Evil 4 is, in my opinion, before Breath of the Wild came out, was what I considered the best game of all time.
Sure.
It's a perfect game. I would hope so.
Yeah. But Resident Evil 5, I enjoyed. Not as much as 4. 6, garbage. 7 kind of brought me back a little bit. But 2 is what was like, right. I fucking love Resident Evil games. One of my favorite games of that year of 2019. Really fucking good game. I know you align with a lot of what I'm saying on
Resident Evil 2 is, I think it's such a great thing to see, because while I think Resident Evil 2 starts to bring in some of the Resident Evil 4, like the way they redid the game, they made it a little bit more action heavy. This is still very much, still feels like a traditional Resident Evil survival horror game. It's not really until the very end of the game that you get some of that more RE4 action. But I think they blend it so well that you can be really like, you can be someone who's like, I'm not a survival horror person and still be able to enjoy this. And be a survival horror person and fucking love it. So I think it's a great game, and I think being on the list is great. 81, maybe I think it could potentially even be a little bit higher, but I like it.
So it also has this neat thing because like you guys are saying, it's this really compelling like survival horror game where you're counting your ammo. The game gives you just enough to kind of creep through it, right? Like I think a good zombie horror game should. That's kind of the point of the thing, right, of the genre. But it has two compelling narratives, and then when you beat the game, this is like a magic trick because when you beat the game the first time, wow, survival horror game. But then when you go back and play it, it becomes this like arcade mode because you know the game and you know the puzzles and you're not as scared. You're just trying to work through it like more efficiently or differently because there's other things you can unlock that you didn't find before. It's really cool. And I don't know. Cool. It's like a bait and switch almost. It's really neat.
I think in 2019, when this game came out, I played it like 7 times because it got to the point. It got to the point where the first playthrough took like 9-10 hours. And then by the end, I was taking like 2 hours of playthrough, having a fucking blast.
You can beat it in a sitting. It's so cool.
It's great. Fucking love this game. Cognitive Clips in the chat. A few chapters into RE4 remake. Definitely thinking of checking this one out. Absolutely check this one out. Less inclined to say check out 3. Not that 3 is bad, but
it's just not the same.
It's not the same. And I would say 2 and 4 remake are like S tier Resident Evil. And then I would put 3 at like B or C tier Resident Evil.
C might be a bit strong. I
C
think
is a bit strong.
Solid B. There's something about Resident Evil 3 that the magic isn't there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I'm with you.
It's just the magic's not there for that game. But I love the way that you said this, Evan, is that these types of games, Resident Evil 2, and I think Resident Evil 4 is the same way, where it's like that second
4 a little less so, but I think the first playthrough for 4 is stronger than 2, but I digress.
Well, sure. But I think the second playthrough on both of these games is very important. It's one of those things where you know what to do, and it really is like, how much faster can I go through this? Can I do this without dying? Can I? And it's such a, I don't know. And I feel like Resident Evil is one of those like weird titles that like no one else has been able to do it like this.
It's crazy. It feels good to like master it, you know?
Yeah, sure.
In a way that a lot of single player games really don't. I would say that like maybe like a Pokemon game has a similar kind of thing where there's lots of like little challenges you can put for yourself or ways you can beat the game or how you can, but it's got like that sort of thrill the speedrunner gets. But less, right? Like it's like a perfected version of like when you played like old Sonic games and you beat a level and it's like, oh, you got a B rating, cool, I'm gonna go back and try to get an S rating. But it's like it's different than that because you're still experiencing and unfolding the game a little bit. I don't know, something about it. There's just a magic to it. There's an X factor.
There is absolutely magic to it. So I'm glad that it made the list at number 81, which wraps up episode 1 of the top 100. Not to say that we're leaving this moment because there's a couple little fun things I also want to share. And Kreslin to 90 in the chat has a really good question that I think is worth answering now and probably will come up again as we keep going through. They say, what was the prompt for the games list again? Because if it was games that you loved the most, that could allude to the fact that people didn't have every single game system growing up, which I think is a really good point.
Sure.
In the original ask, I kind of left that up to the audience because I didn't know that there was a perfect way to say, follow these exact rules. So it was, what are your top 15? And do you interpret that as what you think are the 15 most perfect video games? Do you think it's the 15 that had the most impact on you? Do you think it's just like the best? I would assume that people didn't just say like, what are the best graphics or what's the best combat? I think they kind of looked at a bigger sphere than that based on the ask, but there wasn't like a specific set of rules other than what are your top 15 games of all time. So that's kind of how we got here. And then with each, as I said at the beginning, with each list or game in your list of the 15 was a point value. Number 15 had 1 point all the way up to number 1 getting 15 points. And that's how the point system worked here. So something that I thought was interesting with this was as I go through, and we're going to be revealing another 80 games over the next 4 weeks. But there were obviously some very big snubs when, we have 404 submissions, 230 something individual games submitted. And so we thought would be a good idea, each episode, picking a couple games that we thought maybe should have fallen within this
range.
And maybe, I'm picking these because whoever, came in and our guest each week, they don't know the list because I want the reveals to be fun. But, so, I might be missing the mark here, but I feel like these are some of the games that should have been in this range that aren't on the list at all. So, a bit of a spoiler in a way, but I think it's going to be a fun conversation. So the first one that jumped out to me, nothing from the Horizon series is on this list. And I feel like
Horizon
if a Horizon
Dawn?
game, Zero Dawn or Forbidden West, I feel like if a Horizon game was going to be on the list, it would have been the 80 to 100 range, probably the 90 to 100 range.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I was a little surprised that one didn't make it.
Yeah.
Also, Nick in the chat, if he's still there, going to be very shocked by this one. But again, one that I would have put in this range, Kingdom Hearts 1, not in the top 100.
I think Kingdom Hearts.
Not going to say if 2 is.
Okay.
But Kingdom Hearts 1, not in the top 100.
I think Kingdom Hearts, regardless of whether it's Kingdom Hearts 1, if it's Kingdom Hearts 1.72856 Remix Dream Drop Distance 0.5, none of them should be in the top 500.
Sure.
Those games are for people who are I'm pretty sure, serial killers.
Cognitive Clip says, I could have sworn I put Forbidden West in my top 10. Shucks. You very well might have. This isn't to say that we didn't get any submissions. They just didn't get enough points to crack the top 100.
So you need to be either like a top 5 or 2 votes, right? To be
right. Or 7 people's number 3 or whatever. Right. So yeah, a bit surprising that so far Kingdom Hearts and neither of the Horizon games made it in the top 100. Also a game that I think this one honestly might be maybe would have been higher than 80, but Fallout New Vegas not on the list.
Why?
What?
Not on the list.
I'm not even. I've barely even touched the game, and
it almost made the list.
That's
almost made
insane. That feels like 50-40 range to me.
It ended up getting 10 points, so it fell right below what cracked in the top 100.
New Vegas is the best Bethesda game that's not Skyrim.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think Skyrim's the best Elder Scrolls game. It's Oblivion is far and away, but Skyrim is boring as shit.
Yeah. Curmudgeon the Frog or Horizon. I'm shocked that there wasn't a Horizon, but again, that's the way the news went. And then a final one for this week that I think this one definitely could be argued to be higher than top 80 or 80 to 100, but a game that I'm shocked that wasn't made on that didn't make the list just because of how fucking huge it is. And there was a lot of recency bias that happened, especially in the top 50. Fortnite, not in the top 100.
That's wild. Fortnite.
That's a bit wild to me.
Look, man, I'm 30. Fortnite fucks. Like, get over yourselves, guys. Fortnite is
it's
really,
a great
really
game.
Fun. It's super fun.
It's a great game. I would have expected it to be in the top 100.
Right? It's also like huge,
Yeah. So someone either put it relatively high on their list, or a few people had it low, but it only got Fortnite only got 10 points, so it didn't make the top 100. It was under that last threshold.
I've got a few games in this threshold that I feel probably didn't make the list. If I may.
You may, and I will. I guess I'll abstain, which I guess would say maybe it's on the list. I'll try to have fun with it.
Yeah,
see if I can maybe not completely.
So I would say like the 100 to 90 range. I would say like I'm a little surprised that like a Dynasty Warriors game did not make the list here.
I'm not a single Dynasty Warriors was submitted.
I don't think there's a top 50 argument for a Dynasty Warriors game, but like in the hundreds, sure. Beautiful Joe,
not a single.
Not super surprising, but again, another one of those that I'm a little hair surprised for. Nintendogs, I think, is also a fair one for this.
Did get a Nintendogs, didn't make the list, but we did get
I think Nintendogs could be in this.
Damn, okay.
Lego Star Wars, maybe also in this. You can abstain if it's.
You know what? That's actually one I can't remember off the top of my head.
Did we get any votes for Star Wars Revenge of the Sith?
I don't think we got a Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, but I will say a Star Wars game that didn't make this list that I think should be a top 25. I'm jumping ahead a few episodes. Knights of the Old Republic.
Whoa, no KOTOR.
Knights of the Old Republic landed with 10 points.
Did you know that they like scrubbed the internet of any of the remake of it?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, look, I was gonna say Battlefront 2 feels like it should be in sort of this range, but then I was like, well, maybe it will be. But hearing KOTOR didn't make the list.
KOTOR surprised me.
Crazy.
But that opens up what can be a long discussion for you listening or you watching on YouTube. Let us know what you think has been snubbed so far. Maybe it's going to be in one of the future episodes, but it's not in this episode so far. But we're going to be back next week with games 80 to 61. The next 20 on the list in the top 100. But to recap what we went through this week, from number 104 to 81, we did 104 because there was a tie with 11 points. Quickly going through those, we had Duck Hunt, Gauntlet Dark Legacy, Backyard Baseball, Call of Duty World at War, Tales from the Borderlands, Skate, Cyberpunk 2077, the original Dead Space, Dark Souls, Monster Hunter World, the original Portal, which was a fucking shame that it was so low, Resident Evil Remake on the GameCube, Super Mario Galaxy 2, again, a fucking crime that it's so low, Jet Set Radio Future, The Evil Within 2, Donkey Kong Country, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Rocket League, Champions of Norath, NFL Blitz, a boring game called Star Fox 64, What Remains of Edith Finch, and Resident Evil 2 Remake is the first chunk of the list, as decided by you, our audience, the top 100 video games of all time of Spotlight Games. Evan, thanks for coming on the show. What a blast.
Thanks for having me, man. This was a great time.
What a great time. Where can folks find you on the internet if they want to see what naughty things you're getting into?
Yeah, you can find me at Evan Brando Show on all the social medias, or The Brando Show here on Twitch. I do stream on occasion. And you can find me if you're in Atlanta. I do a show the second or third Thursday of every month at Round Trip Brewing called Cineprov, where we make fun of movies. Thursday the 12th coming up. We've got a super mystery movie. It's a slasher movie that has something to do with the date that we're going to be riffing.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I could probably make a few guesses. I'm assuming it's going to be Saturday the 14th.
You got it. Yeah. Absolutely. Lock it in.
That movie. What a fun. What a fun.
Great beer. Great beer. Great time.
You know what I got to say? It's the Saturday the 14th. Don't knock it till you watch it.
Last month we did Commando, and it was one of the most insane movies I've ever seen. It totally rolled.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Totally right.
Cayman, where can folks find you and Save Trash Cinema?
Yeah, you can find me at the Dumpster Boy on Twitter. You can also find me under my name, Cayman Darty, on Letterboxd if you are participating in the 31 Days of Halloween. So am I. And so if you want to see what shitty horror films I'm subjecting myself to for the next 31 days, you can find that list on Letterboxd. You can find it through my Twitter, Twitter as well. STC, Save Trash Cinema. You can find it on all socials at Save Trash Cinema. We have a massive backlog of episodes for you guys to check out. One of them actually including Evan Brando when we covered Street Fighter.
It was really fun.
So if you want to go listen to any of our backlog, please do that. We will have new episodes coming out this month, and then hopefully from there, we'll be able to get into a more routine schedule. We also have a very special announcement coming alongside the first release of STC's comeback tour, is what I'm coining it, that will be there. So definitely go check it out. It's going to be really cool. I think everyone will be excited for that. And yeah.
Hell yeah. Keep your eyes peeled, folks. You can follow me on Twitter at Patrick Schwag. You can follow the pod on Twitter at Spot Games Pod, or on Instagram, TikTok, all those other places at Spotlight Games Pod. And be sure to follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod, and YouTube as well. And make sure you're following us there so that you're notified when we go live, especially the next 4 weeks. Next week, if you're still listening, we're going to be airing on Monday because I'm out of town Tuesday through Friday. But for the most part, these are going to be on Tuesdays as they normally are. But also I'm going to be cutting as many clips as I possibly can of this series. So if you follow us on socials, would love your support of sharing and spreading the word of the top 100, because I think we're doing a really cool thing here, and I would love for more people to see it. It's a lot of fun, and I think people are going to like it. So share if you can. Appreciate you. Love you. Thanks for being here. Until next time, Star Fox 64 board game.